want to do anything to scare your children. That's the last thing we want to do. We don't want to scare anybody.
Guys, so you asked for some bacon bites, so these are going to be just a little bit more in depth to my video yesterday at Nottinghamshire Police. Police officer who sprayed a father with CS gas as he rushed his sickle cell anemia suffering son to hospital has been sacked. PC Graham Thornell, 34, also beat the terrified father across the thighs with a police baton and kicked him as he lay face down on a grass verge. Kicked him as he lays down on a grass verge, so he's hit him with baton twice and then proceeds to kick him as well. It's not enough, is it? He was found guilty of gross misconduct for using excessive and disproportionate force, and he was dismissed from his job as a Nottinghamshire police officer, and rightly so. During the hearing, the victim accused the former officer of being racist, which PC Thornell denied. Although the ethnicity of the father was not revealed, but it's quite obvious that it's not going to be a white man. Panel held at Nottinghamshire Police Headquarters heard how the victim was taking his son to Queen's Medical Centre, Nottinghamshire. The boy, who suffers from sickle cell anemia, a serious condition where red blood cells can't carry sufficient oxygen. It's very dangerous, guys. They need like an instant blood transfusion, and they were experiencing excruciating pain. The father, who was not being named, was driving on Western Boulevard, Nottinghamshire, when PC Thornell pulled him over for erratic driving. A panel heard how, despite changing lanes, the victim stayed within the speed limit. The victim says he's pleased to let him take his son to hospital seemed to go on deaf ears. He added he stopped driving as soon as he noticed the police car. He said, "I was quite relieved at the time that it was the police. I immediately got out of the car to advise them that I've got a sick child in the car and that I need to get to hospital. I walked up to the police car. 2 police officers were in the car coming towards me. I said, I've got my son now, I need to get to hospital with a crisis. I got back in the vehicle, I went to close the door to continue my journey, and PC Thornell pulled the door out of my hand so I wasn't able to close it. I then asked him, am I under arrest? And he said, no, you're not, and then started shouting, get out of the car. I said, you see, I need to take my son to hospital. He's got a serious medical condition and it's life-threatening. It seemed to go on deaf ears. I asked him again, am I under arrest? And he proceeded to grab the right arm of my jacket. I started to get out of the car. The police officer then proceeded to spray me in the face with CS gas or pepper spray. Before I knew it, I could feel blows, which could only be a baton or a truncheon of the police officer on myself. Speaking at a disciplinary hearing which lasted 4 days, the officer claimed that the victim was aggressive and failed to show a driving licence. The victim admitted that he'd refused to give the officer his name and that he had refused to get out of the car 3 times before the CS gas was used. PC Thornell said throughout the demonstrated behaviour and mannerisms that posed a risk to our safety and himself and any other members of the public that came into the vicinity, and he required controlling. He said that he sprayed the CS gas in the victim's face and took 3 swings at him with his baton as he feared for his own safety. He added, the first bounced off him. I thought it was made of steel, but it's clear now. I think it hit the steering wheel. My goal was to strike him, his hands to come over to the source of pain and pull him out of the vehicle. I struck him a 3rd time and he was still in the car. It was the one thing I did not want to do, but I had run out of options, so I had to reach inside the vehicle and grab hold of him. The officer then hit him again when he was laying face down on the grass verge in order to get both the victim's hands out to apply handcuffs. Thornell, who was served with Nottinghamshire Police for 12 years, admitted that he had never noticed the child in the back seat and claims that the man only made it clear that hospital treatment was needed after he'd been handcuffed. However, PC Claire Reeves, who was with him at the time, told the panel she heard the man mention sickle cell anemia and noticed the child in the car. She also claimed that the victim was aggressive and unreasonable. Speaking after the hearing, PC Thornell admitted that he is considering appeal his dismissal to the police. He also said that he may complain to the Independent Complaints Commission. He said, I have served 12 years exemplary, dedicated service to the people of Nottinghamshire and a proven history of adopting a constantly proactive presence to keep our streets safe. I am disappointed by the findings of the panel, which appeared directly contrary to all of the hard factual evidence laid before them. I maintained the police values of honesty and integrity throughout the hearing, and incredibly I received criticism for the extent and detail of the evidence which I provided. I am incredibly concerned about the effect this outcome is already beginning to have on the service the public received from officers from Nottinghamshire Police, who are upset and demoralised by the result and the lack of attention paid to the evidence presented. The personal safety of police officers and the necessary lawful justifications for their actions has now been proven to be of little importance in the context of complaints made against them by those with whom they interact on a daily basis. If I was confronted with the same behaviour today, I would not have changed the way I acted. Pardon? Well, it's a good job you sacked then, isn't it? Imagine him saying that if he were confronted today with the same behaviour, he wouldn't have changed it. So he's basically saying that he condones what he did, beating somebody, kicking them when they're face down in a grass verge, trying to get his pole. Just think what we're going through that man's mind. You think what we're going through this father's mind as he's laid down on a grass verge and the police officer's kicking him and his son's in back. It's alarming, to say the least. Detective Superintendent Paul Murphy, the head of Professional Standards Directorate of Nottinghamshire Police, said, "The question of reasonable use of force is one faced by frontline police officers every day. Officers are rightly equipped with the personal protective equipment to do their job as safely as possible. I have confidence in the ability of operational officers to make reasonable quick-time decisions to minimise risk. PC Thornhill lacked the skills to communicate effectively with a stressed and anxious member of the public through dialogue. We have had to work hard to regain the trust of those directly affected by this incident. PC Thornhill's actions are a discredit to the force and his colleagues who work to keep our communities safe." So, Mr. Thornhill, you are dismissed